Tell me a bit about the business.
Okay, so we're ISO Quality Services Limited. We've been established for 14 years this year. My father founded the business in May 2000. Predominantly, we are a ISO implementation and certification business, which basically means that we go into an organisation and help them set up their processes and procedures to the internationally recognised management standards, most commonly well known as the ISO 9001.
Okay, and that's essentially UK, isn't it?
Yeah, the UK, and we do have some clients based in Europe and one in Dubai, but yeah, predominantly our client base is okay. UK.
And what sort of businesses are there? I suppose they're all sorts, really.
Yeah, they do vary. They tend not to be retail or anything that's business to consumer, so it's business to business. Mainly we have manufacturing companies, engineering companies, contract cleaning companies, business services, that kind of thing.
Okay.
But we have the weird and wonderful, like we have Coast Guards, and we've even, in the past, not anymore, but we even had an airline. So yeah,
wow.
It can be quite varied.
Yes, it can be really, can't it? Okay, so you say it's been established a few years, so was that mum and dad basically started it, didn't they?
My dad started it on his own.
Yeah.
He worked for a competitor organisation over, in the UK. He decided to leave. There was a subcontractor there. They wanted everyone going employed. He didn't want to be, so he decided to. Well, my mum's idea. Why don't you do it yourself? So he did. He went over and started the business up in Ireland originally, because the competition over there was a lot less than it was in the UK. So he started the business up on his own. Him and a friend did all his auditing courses, etc. And it's just sort of grown from there, really. My mum has always been involved, but she also has her own job in travel as well. So she's kind of part-time, if you like.
I think typical family business, really. So did you get involved helping at some point?
Yeah, I mean, I remember being sort of, I don't know, 10, 11, 12, 13, sat in front of the telly stuffing envelopes with brochures and getting them posted out in the days of all that kind of marketing.
I call that slave labour.
Yeah, I do as well. Yeah, I know. Well, had I known what that was back then, I probably would have.
We did exactly the same with our kids. They'll always explain it.
Yeah.
And so you grew up.
Yeah, well, it kind of... so I kind of always knew what he did. I kind of always understood, because, I'd sit and read the brochures when I was bored. But so I kind of always understood it. And I suppose... as I went through my career in recruitment and then at the Birmingham Chamber of Commerce, I actually be able to find links between what I did and what he did. And there was actually a few clients that I would, meet and mention about my father's business, and they would be interested, and they ended up becoming clients of the business. So
first of all, you were slave labour.
Yeah.
Then you were an unofficial salesperson.
Yeah, exactly, not earning commission.
And you were working for the Chamber of Commerce, so you were used to business by then, weren't you? Very much so.
Yeah. My recruitment background was the kind of the business development background I grew up in. But then when I moved over to the Chamber, it was more of a business support style role.
Sure.
Although I was business development manager, what I actually did was helped the organisations get the most out of the Chamber, or understand what the Chamber could offer them. The Chamber wasn't exactly a hard sell type of product, but really I needed to make sure that they weren't going to drop off in a year. That was my main aim, so that they used all the services. So yeah, it gave me a good understanding of how different types of organisations worked, and just generally built up my business knowledge, I suppose.
So what happened? How did you get drawn back in?
It's a very long story, but the short of it is I met a contact that wanted to work with my dad on a slightly different project. That project, my dad asked me if I wanted to run, because he obviously had the main business to do. That project didn't come to fruition, but at that point I'd already started getting interested in the business. So I decided to leave the Chamber, and I between other jobs, I'd come into the office and done a little bit and bits and bobs, so I kind of knew the workings of it. And I suppose because he turned my head with another job, I'd already, decided to leave the Chamber. And basically, I think his words were, "You told me I was going to employ you." So that's how that happened.
That's a classic father-daughter conversation, that is, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't remember it quite like that, but apparently that's what I said.
I wouldn't be at all surprised. But anyway, there you go. So how long ago was that?
That was 4 years ago in April. So, so I'm coming into my 5th year at the moment.
And what's your role in the business now?
I'm operations director, which is a fancy word of saying everything and anything that lands on my door. So we have 3 departments here. We have a finance department of 2, we have a client relationship department of 4, and a new business department of 4. And then we also have a number of subcontractors out in the field. So I sort of manage things on a day-to-day. Effectively, a lot of my time is spent sort of putting together all the reporting, motivating the staff, holding all the appraisals and the one-to-ones, and because we're small, it's also very hands-on with, day-to-day queries about proposals and client queries and things like that. I do a lot of networking as well, so building the brand in the local area. So yes, it's very varied. And then on facilities, managing the office as well and stuff. So yeah, it's kind of...
It's a classic family business, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
So you're a handful of years into the business now. You're essentially running it. Does that mean that your father takes a slightly different viewpoint to the business now, or...?
Completely. Yeah, completely. I mean, when I first started, I came in as business development and, I would pipe up with ideas about, I could streamline this in the office. No, Jennifer, you need to be out there selling. That's what I need you to be, earning your money back through the sales side. And we battled for a couple of years because I could see ways that I could add value being in the office. Not that I didn't want to be on the field. I did like being in the field, but when I was at the office, I could find things to improve the business. And we had a bit of a battle for a couple of years. Now, he's taken a completely backseat now. Just got back from 3 months out of the country, whereby I speak to them every day, I communicate with them every day on email. But all they want is the report sent through now, and they come in for the important decisions. So important board meetings, strategy meetings, year-end meetings, management review meetings, things like that they'll come in for, or he'll come in for. My mum's slightly different because she helps me on the finance side, so I tend to bounce ideas off her regularly about, what about this, what about the other, and she likes to keep her eye on the finances, so technically finance director, I suppose you would call her. But yeah, I mean, they do leave me to get on with it, but at the same time, they don't want to step back completely in case I need them, or just want that kind of sounding board.
It's
really
a transitional job, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
So, what have you learned since you've become since slave labour? What have you learned?
Post-slave labour.
Yeah, post-slave labour.
Yeah.
What have you learned in recent times that people listening to can glean and do something with?
It is definitely not easy. 100% the hardest job I've ever done. 100% the most enjoyable job I've ever done. I've learned that you will give far more commitment to your own family business than anyone else would, and I don't think that's unusual. I think that's just a natural thing. I've learned that sometimes you have to scream and shout at each other to clear the air. I've also learned that you need that person in the middle, which I suppose is my mum. You need that person. Myself and my dad have got very similar personalities, and if anybody...
You do surprise.
As that's probably a normal thing, but if anybody does have that, don't be afraid to bring in an outside source. Whether that was my mum. We've got another guy as well, Colin, who's one of our senior lead assessors. He tends to come in and sit in meetings because he's now a friend of the family, but he's worked with the business for 7 years. He knows the inner workings, and he can act as a mediator when we need it. So not to be afraid to kind of bring that third party in.
He's like an umpire.
Yeah, exactly. But also, I suppose, from my perspective, sort of thinking back over the last 4 years, I probably was quite harsh on him. On my dad, thinking, coming in a bit younger and thinking, well, I know about the technology side, I know how the website should work. But he's taken it well. I mean, we were reading an article the other day about family businesses, and he was very proud of the fact that I let you get on with it, and I didn't. He never stopped he always was keen on the technology side. He was always quite keen on that. So I think from that perspective, making sure you're on the right page and just communicating with each other really as to why why you think so, because you're going to think in different ways. You are going to have different perspectives, especially if it's a second generation family business like us, where you've got the new technologies coming in that weren't even around when he started the business.
Well, you've got different generations, and you've got male, female as well.
Yeah.
And then on top of all that, you've got dad and daughter. And of course, people who have got family businesses get that. They understand there's a difference. Certainly with us, with our businesses. Sarah Beth runs one of those family businesses. She runs it. And every so often, dad and daughter have an interesting conversation, and we want to throw something at each other, and then we go and have a glass of wine at the pub.
Exactly,
and that's how it works. And then we have to switch it off.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. I think because we have to actively switch it off when we go home. So we've got an interesting scenario at the moment where my sister's just joined the business on a part-time basis from January. Yeah. So that is just the four of us. So that's who our family is, and. My sister's husband's also involved. He's been involved for longer than I have on a kind of a business development auditing type perspective. So when we leave work and when we go and have family dinners, we have to not talk about the business. And, somebody will often go, no talking about the business.
Yes,
stop it. And luckily my sister's got a little girl, so she takes up a lot of the attention, as you can imagine.
Is she your younger sister?
She's my older sister.
Older sister? That's interesting in itself.
Yeah. So she came from a customer service team leader or manager background. That is quite surprising. I'm the younger one, and I started working for the business first. It was just circumstance, I think. And now she's involved as well, which for me is great because she's a safe pair of hands. Somebody I can trust, and she doesn't need hardly any training, and it's easy. She knows what we do. We understand how each other's work, although again, me and my sister are probably polar opposites and used to fight like cat and dog when we were younger. Actually, in a business environment,
that's brilliant.
We get on really well.
Yes, because she'll see things from two different perspectives, right?
Yeah.
But get each other, that's the point.
Yeah.
And again, our family business, we've got the two sisters involved. So, and same thing with those two, exactly the same. Hazel's come back into the business on a part-time basis, and that's because our grandkids are doing it, and she helps as much as she can.
I'm not sure how it would have worked if she'd have come in before having had a family, because she does have priorities with her family and her little girl. Yes. And when
that's
she
the
was
number one priority.
Yeah, exactly. And when she was probably before all that, when she was more like where I am, which is it's all about your job and your career. That I'm not sure whether that dynamic would have been the same as it is now. But at the same time, she's very good, and she'll never just go off and do something. She'll always check things over with me and stuff. And I think she wants to do well, so she doesn't want to let the family down, and she respects the fact that I've been here 4.5 years and therefore have got a lot more experience in what we do, albeit she's now bringing her experience to the pot as well, which is great.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
It's a case of learning together of how to work with each other, isn't it?
But there's also the effect on the staff that could have had, because when I started there was only 4 members of staff, and only one of those members of staff is still remaining now. So there's actually only one person who works in the office who's been here longer than I have, and she's one of the managers. Right. And then everybody sort of got recruited then, and we're up to sort of 11, 12 now. And then Debbie came in. So it's interesting because that could have had a knock-on effect to the staff. We discussed it with them. They were made aware, and they've all got on with her really well. So they've all taken to it, but that could have put managers' noses out of joint, because she's not coming in directly as a manager, although she's managing a department. That was interesting as well, to kind of manage that, and I think through that process, what I've learned is just be very open and honest with people, and give them enough notice so that they can, even if they don't like the idea of it at the beginning, if they know it's coming. And she had a phased start as well, so she was on maternity leave, and she started coming in for the odd day from sort of October, November time, so that everybody got used to having her around. And now she started properly in January, 1 day a week from the office. Next week she's in 3 days because we're running a training course, and then does some stuff for her husband at home as well. So that was quite nice, because they got that kind of gentle introduction to the sister then coming in on board, Yes.
So in other words, you gave them a bit of time to understand.
To adjust, yeah. And even if they, nobody voiced anything, but even if they hadn't have been happy, they actually had enough time to get their heads around it. And now, she's, there's no issues at all. I know nobody's ever raised any issues with it.
So I'm hearing things about letting people adjust when there are family changes.
Yeah.
I'm hearing the perennial one of a father-daughter or a father-son or mother-daughter type relationship change,
yeah.
a sister change. What else, if somebody was listening, have you learned? One maybe final thing that you've learned that is worthwhile thinking about?
Yeah, I suppose we aim to treat our staff like a family as well. So we're not just a family in the traditional sense of the word in terms of we are a family-run business, but actually we think of all our staff as part of that extended family, and we have a responsibility to work as hard as we can to ensure that they work as hard as they can so that everything works together. And for me, getting that across to not only the staff internally, but also, to our clients, that is our ethos. We very much, we engage with our staff outside of work, to have socials and Christmas parties and things like that. And for us, that's all part of us as a family integrating with the rest of the staff so that you don't get this them and us style approach.
Yes.
They feel part of it and they feel included in decision making, because otherwise it could become very top heavy with Peter, Sue, Mum, Dad, Debbie, Jennifer, sisters, and we're just going to do what we want to do, and we're four against you. And actual fact, it's not like that at all. We just had a conversation yesterday about the Christmas party, and actually, in fact, we've got two of the managers who are making the decisions on what we do, and we're just presenting the ideas to Peter and Sue. So it's actually we're taking the ideas to them rather than them forcing anything down. And I think that's really important for people to feel included, because there is the opportunity for them to feel secluded. So
I think you're absolutely right, and I think I would be definitely a very rich person if I added up all the different people I know with family businesses who think exactly the same. You have to be in a family business as the minimum. I believe you have to be at least working for a family business, but really you need to have run or owned a family business to get it. And I think an awful lot of people don't get what family businesses are, yet 2/3 in the UK of private sector businesses are actually a version of a family business. Yet, we see all the information from politicians and bodies and all the rest of it talking about business, but certainly any good family business thinks family first, business second. But when they think that way, they think of family and their extended family. That's exactly what you just said. It's an extended family. That's the whole reason why family businesses, people stay with them. And when they sell, those businesses are sold or they finish, perhaps they stop, they die, what have you. It is like a family separator.
I can imagine.
And it's tough. It's very, very tough.
Because, people have come up to me and said about, what are the future plans? Are you going to sell the business in the future? And for me, that's not anywhere near my conscious thought, because A, of my age and I don't want to stop working, but B, I would worry about what would happen to everyone else. So I would think, well, what would happen to us? What would happen to the family? So that's quite a scary prospect. When people when people ask me that, I just think no. As long as everybody wants to stay on board, we'll keep going forward. And those people might change. That extended family might change over the years, or might extend again over the years. But ultimately, you want to keep the people that also feel like they're involved and part of it.
So, one last thing. What would it be? Very in short order. Family businesses to you, what does it mean?
Lot of communication. Hard work, but probably the best work that you'll ever do.
That's a fabulous way to finish. Thanks very much indeed. Thank you.
Thank you.